Hey everyone, welcome back. We are going to be taking a deep dive today, and I'm really excited about this one. It's about AI
Yeah.
and a rivalry that's brewing that I think has some really interesting implications
Mhm.
for the future.
Yeah,
So
pretty good.
we're talking about OpenAI and a couple called DeepSeek that you may or may not have heard of.
Yeah, they're a newcomer, but they're making a splash.
They are, and we've got reports, analyses, and kind of the inside scoop on what's going on between these two.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about really what's happening, why it matters, and what this could mean for the future of AI.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are talking about this DeepSeek thing, this new model they have called R1,
Right.
and how it's kind of shaking things up. But I think what's even more interesting than the tech itself is this narrative that's starting to emerge, this David and Goliath kind of thing,
Right.
with DeepSeek being the scrappy underdog taking on this AI giant OpenAI.
Yeah, it's a good story. So let's start with, one of the things that's making headlines right now is this whole distillation controversy.
Right.
OpenAI is saying that DeepSeek basically used their ChatGPT's output to train their model R1,
Uh-huh.
which they're saying is a violation of their terms of service.
Yeah. And OpenAI is being pretty vague about, what evidence they actually have,
Right.
which just makes it even more intriguing.
Of course.
But I think this whole thing goes beyond just the legal stuff,
Yeah.
It really raises some fundamental questions about, how AI models should be developed and trained.
Right.
Is it okay to use an existing model as a foundation for a new one? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, and it's not just a theoretical debate either.
Right.
This has real-world implications. I mean, we saw NVIDIA's stock take a hit when this news came out.
Exactly. I mean, even if it was temporary, that stock drop shows you that investors are watching this. Power struggle very closely, and they're placing their bets on who they think will come out on top. But I think what's particularly interesting is the angle DeepSeek is playing here. They're really focusing on this idea of efficiency.
Right.
They're saying that R1 is not only comparable to ChatGPT in some ways, it's also significantly cheaper to run.
Like, how much cheaper are we talking?
Like, way cheaper. Some estimates say up to 96.4% cheaper.
Wow, 96.4%. That's
It's huge.
it's a big deal.
Especially if you're a smaller company or a researcher
Right.
who doesn't have the massive resources to work with a model like ChatGPT.
Right.
So that's why people are saying this rivalry could be so disruptive.
Yeah.
If DeepSeek can actually deliver on what they're promising, it could completely change the AI landscape
Yeah.
and democratize access to these really powerful tools. Imagine a world where AI isn't just for the big tech companies,
Right.
but it's something that startups, researchers, individuals can actually use.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the question is, can they deliver? ChatGPT, I mean, it's pretty amazing. The things that
Yeah.
it can do, the text it can generate, it can write different creative content. It has access to up-to-the-minute information.
Yeah, ChatGPT is impressive, no doubt.
Can R1 really compete with that?
Well, I think that's where the different strategies of these two companies comes in. OpenAI has really focused on making ChatGPT versatile, like a jack-of-all-trades AI. But DeepSeek seems to be taking a more targeted approach.
Boy.
They're focusing on specific tasks like coding, problem-solving things, where they think they can actually outperform ChatGPT while using way fewer resources.
So it's not about who has the best AI. It's about, choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And that's why this whole rivalry is so fascinating. It forces us to look beyond just the technology itself
Yeah.
and think about the strategic decisions the market forces, the impact this could have on industries, even on our daily lives.
It's like two different visions for the future of AI are kind of clashing here.
Yeah.
And the outcome,
Yeah.
I mean, it could have huge consequences.
Absolutely. And we're just at the beginning of this story.
Right.
We don't know who's going to win this rivalry or if there even needs to be a winner.
Right.
What we do know is that this competition is pushing the boundaries of AI.
Yeah.
It's forcing innovation, and it's making us question, what's possible.
This is getting really interesting. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about these two models, ChatGPT and R1.
Okay.
How do they differ in terms of what they can do and the user experience?
I think ChatGPT has definitely set a high bar when it comes to user experience. It's got this really slick interface. It's very conversational.
Yeah, it feels very natural.
Yeah, and that's a big part of the appeal, I think. But all that user-friendliness comes at a cost.
Literally.
Literally, yeah. You need a ton of computational power to run ChatGPT.
Right.
And that means higher costs for OpenAI and maybe even for users down the line.
Yeah, it's like choosing between a luxury car and a really fuel-efficient car.
Right.
They'll both get you where you need to go.
Yeah. But the experience and the costs are going to be totally different.
That's a great analogy. And DeepSeek is betting that a lot of users are going to go for that fuel-efficient model,
Right.
especially if it can do the job just as well. Like, think about it. You're a programmer. You just need some help debugging some code.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles of ChatGPT.
Right.
You might prefer a simpler, more focused tool that's not going to break the bank.
Yeah, it's like having a specialized tool versus a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly.
So let's talk about some of the specifics of that efficiency. Like, how does that actually play out in real-world use cases?
Well, one example is the way R1 is trained. So they use this technique called knowledge distillation,
Oh.
which basically means it learns from the output of a much larger model.
Mm.
And in this case, allegedly, that model is ChatGPT.
Mm.
So it's like learning from the best, but in a way more efficient way.
Right.
And what that means is faster training times lower energy consumption, lower costs.
Mm.
Now, whether R1 can actually match ChatGPT's performance across the board,
Yeah, that's still up for debate. But the potential for disruption is definitely there.
Yeah.
I mean, if DeepSeek can offer a cheaper, faster, and more targeted AI solution, they could attract a whole new group of users who just couldn't afford it before.
That's a good point. This makes me think about like the bigger picture here. Is this just about two companies competing, or could this rivalry actually lead to a wider shift towards more efficient AI development?
That's a really good question. And I think it's probably a bit of both. On the one hand, you've got this classic David and Goliath story, a newcomer challenging the established player. But on the other hand, this is also part of a larger trend we're seeing in the AI community.
What do you mean?
Well, more and more researchers are starting to focus on developing AI models that are more efficient and sustainable because, there are growing concerns about the energy consumption and the environmental impact of training these massive AI models.
Right. It's like we're reaching this point where bigger isn't always better. Maybe the future of AI is about these smarter, more efficient models that can get the job done without using a ton of resources.
I think you're right. This rivalry could be a real turning point, a sign that the AI industry is moving towards a more sustainable and accessible future.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the people actually using these tools.
Right.
What does this rivalry mean for the average person?
Well, I think one of the most immediate benefits is choice. Having more players in the AI field means more competition.
Yeah.
And that usually means better products, lower prices. Imagine a world where you've got multiple AI assistants to choose from, each with their own strengths and price point.
Yeah.
You could pick the one that fits your needs and your budget.
That'd be pretty cool. But like with any new technology, I imagine there are some downsides to think about too.
Oh, absolutely. As AI gets more powerful and more integrated into our lives, we really need to be thinking about the ethical implications.
Right.
For example, how do we make sure these AI models are being used responsibly? How do we prevent them from perpetuating biases or harming people?
Yeah.
How do we protect our privacy when these AI systems are constantly collecting data about us?
Those are big questions. And it seems like the answers might depend on how each company approaches those problems. Like OpenAI with their more centralized model might have more control over how ChatGPT is used.
Right.
They could potentially enforce stricter guidelines. But DeepSeek, with their open source approach, it might be harder for them to control how their technology is being used.
You're right. That's a classic trade-off between openness and control, and there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
But the main takeaway here is that we as users need to be aware of these issues, and we need to be part of the conversation.
Right.
We can't just sit back and accept whatever technology is thrown at us. We need to be informed, and we need to actively shape how AI is developed and used.
This is a much bigger conversation than just a tech industry showdown.
Absolutely. The future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we're all creating together.
And I have a feeling this OpenAI versus DeepSeek thing is just the beginning of a much bigger story.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about some specific examples of how these AI models are being used in the real world.
Okay.
Because it's one thing to talk about their capabilities in theory,
Right.
but seeing them in action really gives you a better sense of their impact. Let's start with ChatGPT. It seems like it's everywhere these days. Like I've heard of writers using it to get over writer's block.
Oh, yeah.
And businesses using it for customer service.
Oh, it's true. ChatGPT has really captured people's imaginations.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing how versatile it is. Like one area where we're seeing a lot of interesting applications is in education.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, teachers are using it to create lessons that are tailored to each student's needs.
Wow.
Students are using it to help them with their research or even to get feedback on their writing. And some schools are even experimenting with using ChatGPT as a tutoring tool.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So it sounds like ChatGPT is being used in all sorts of creative and practical ways. What about DeepSeek's R1? Where are we seeing that make a real impact?
Well, as we were talking about earlier, DeepSeek is really going after those more technical areas.
Right.
And one place where they're doing really well is in software development.
Right.
R1 is being used by programmers to automate certain tasks, like generating code or finding bugs, or even suggesting ways to improve the code they've already written.
So it's almost like having an AI partner working with you on your code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the potential benefits there are huge. Like R1 could help developers write better code faster, which could really speed up the whole development process and save money. But it's not just about efficiency either.
Right.
Some developers are using R1 to explore new creative possibilities, like they're using it to come up with unusual solutions to coding problems, or even to help them learn new programming languages.
It sounds like both ChatGPT and R1 are finding their place and making a difference, even if it's in different areas. But I'm wondering, are there any areas where they kind of overlap, where both models are being used for similar things?
Oh, definitely. One area where we're seeing some convergence is in scientific research.
Okay.
ChatGPT's ability to analyze large amounts of data and generate hypotheses has been really valuable to researchers in fields like biology and medicine.
That makes sense. And I imagine DeepSeek's R1, with its focus on problem solving and data analysis, is also finding applications in research, especially in fields that are really data heavy, like physics or astronomy.
Exactly. And what's really exciting is that we're just scratching the surface here. As these AI models continue to improve and become more sophisticated, we can expect to see them being used in even more areas of our lives.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think about the possibilities,
Yeah.
but it also makes you realize how important it is to be having these conversations about responsible AI development.
Right. I completely agree. As AI gets more powerful and more widespread, we need to think carefully about the ethical implications. We need to make sure that these technologies are being used to benefit everyone and not just make existing inequalities worse or create new problems.
It's a good reminder that the future of AI isn't something that's just happening to us. It's something that we're all shaping together through the choices we make, the conversations we have, and the actions we take.
Well said. And I think this deep dive into the rivalry between OpenAI and DeepSeek has really highlighted that point. It's not just a competition between two companies, it's a reflection of these bigger questions we're all wrestling with as a society about the role of AI in our lives.
So as we wrap up here, what are some of the key takeaways for our listeners? What should they be keeping in mind as they navigate this rapidly changing world of AI?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that AI isn't some futuristic concept anymore. It's here, it's now. It's already having a big impact on our lives, from the tools we use to the research that's being done to the decisions that are being made. And it's really important for all of us as users to stay informed, to be part of the conversation, and to make our voices heard.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The field of AI is moving so fast, and this rivalry between companies like OpenAI and DeepSeek is only going to make things even more interesting. Who knows what incredible new capabilities and applications we'll see in the next few years?
The possibilities are truly amazing. And as we've seen, it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the choices we make, the ethical questions we face, and the future we're building together.
So to everyone listening, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The future of AI is in our hands.